And hello, welcome to this video. So in this video, I will show you how to add and remove users and grant them privileges for mariadb. So mariadb is the fork of MySQL, and I already assume you know how to set it up. If not, you can take a look at some of my videos. So the first step is you have to be in the mariadb terminal. So let me refresh this. So you go sudo mariadb. That's how I like to set it up. So this version is 10.7.3 mariadb Arch Linux. So your first line of code to make the user, to make the user is, well, you look at this line of code here. This is from Arch Linux mariadb. You can add the user here. So create user, your username at wherever you're hosting your mariadb server. So how do you know which server you're using? You can type in status. You will see that the current user here is root at localhost. mariadb status. So this is where you can show the status. A lot of useful things. For example, what's the server version? What is your current user, etc., etc. So to make new users, you have to make sure you are on the root user so that you have administrator privileges. Root is the administrator account. And you will usually be at localhost. Since MariaDB, your default server where you host your MariaDB server, when you set it up the way I showed you how, or the way Arch Linux usually shows you how, it will be on your local host. So let's make the user. So the syntax is simple: create user. Again, MariaDB is not case sensitive, but we like to caps lock all the important keywords such as create user and identified by in this first line right here. So create user. What's your username? Test. I will just use a username called test user. Make sure it's in the open and closed inverted comma. So at which server? You have to put it at localhost. So that's your default. Test user at localhost. Then you get to identify the password. So you type in the words identified by. So what's the password? I'll just give it a test password right here. So this is how you're supposed to do it. Create user, test user at localhost, identified by test password, semicolon, enter, and then it will say query is okay. And how do you check whether you have added the user properly? To check if you added the user properly, you use this one, select user from mysql.user. MySQL is one of those databases, so you type show databases. Never mind, I shan't digress. I'll just use it. Show user, caps again, show user from mysql.user. Right, sorry, select, not show. Selects the keyword. Select user from mysql.user. You'll find that the test user is right here. So if you, for example, if you think that you want to change your username, or you think that you made your username and password by mistake, you can always just drop the user. So dropping is just as good as deleting. So just type this keyword, drop user. Test user at localhost, semicolon, and that will be okay. So if you want to check what users are on, you can say select user from mysql.user, and you will see that the test user is gone. So again, I show you. Create user, test user at localhost, identified by some password. And then select user from mysql.user to show which users are on. If you don't like this user, just drop it. So hopefully get used to these commands and you'll be fine. So creating a user and removing it, that's the first step. You can't really do much with the user unless okay, unless you grant the user privileges. Okay, so how do you grant privileges? You will use this command here, grant all privileges on whichever database to whichever user. Okay, so grant all privileges to who? Okay, oh, on which database? On which database? On, well, you can just put myDatabase. Alright, and you don't have to put it in open or close inverted commas. You can just put myDatabase. If that's the database you want to target, just type whatever name of database that you have there, which you want to grant the privileges to, and then you type the keyword to, and then remember, test user must be inside the inverted commas, and then put it at the server name. Okay, so what does it say? Grant all users, grant all privileges on whichever database to whichever user, semicolon. Okay, it says no database selected. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it says no database selected, means probably you need to make the database first. But let's check out what databases there are. Okay, so I can type the keywords show databases. Okay, so here are all the databases here. Sys-test, MySQL information schema, blah blah blah. Okay, what I can do is to grant all privileges on whichever database to the user. So for example, I want to grant it to the MySQL database, so I can put MySQL. Okay, grant all privileges on MySQL database to this test user at localhost. Okay. Okay, since it keeps complaining that we should use a particular database because we are not using any database, so I'm just going to go to the MySQL database right here, use MySQL. Okay, and then I'll do this. Okay, so it grants all privileges to MySQL to test user at localhost. Okay, it grants all privileges on MySQL to test user at localhost. You can also grant it to every single table here, just like so. All right. Yep. So, yeah, the syntax here is yeah, you grant it to a database and you grant it to every single table in the database. So if let's say you have not made a database first and you want to grant all privileges on that particular database, you can just type grant all privileges on myDatabase.star to test user at localhost. Okay, so this will actually give this test user at localhost all privileges to every single table under my database. Okay, I have not even made my database yet. Okay, I have not even made my database yet, but yeah, I can still grant privileges to this database without making the database in the first place. So that is possible. Whereas if I were to just grant all privileges on MySQL, okay, I think mariadb will think that this MySQL actually stands for a table, not a database. So if you want to grant it to a database, you need to grant it to every single table in the database. Now, of course, if you want to grant it to all tables and all databases, okay, you can use this star.star. It will grant privileges to every single database and every single table within every single database to this test user. So you can do that as well. Though that's usually not the best thing, because then if someone hacks this my user at localhost, they can use it to do anything. Okay, rather give this test user maybe some limited privileges. So your first star here stands for is where you place your database name. Your second star here stands for the database tables. Okay, so well, I do not want to grant every single privilege here. So I'm just going to drop this user first. Drop the user. I'll create the user again. Okay. Okay, create user. test user at localhost identified by. Okay, test password. Okay, then I will grant all privileges on. Okay, what's the database name? I will just say one database. I'm not going to grant it to everyone, but I have shown you how to grant it to everyone if you wanted. Okay, myDatabase. Okay, it doesn't even have to be created yet, but you need to put the .*. That means you grant privileges to every single table on this database. Okay, so to test user at localhost. Okay, so this will grant all the privileges. And if you are very sure that you want to grant all privileges, just type this keyword flush privileges. Okay, and that will ensure that your user has all these privileges now. Okay, you have confirmed it by typing flush privileges, and then you can quit. If you do sudo mariadb again, okay, if you do this sudo mariadb again, you can put select user from mysql.user. Okay, I should of course put this in caps. From mysql.user, you should be able to see test user is over here. So so a few things we have learned: how to create users, how to remove users by using the drop command, how to grant privileges on all tables or on all databases, or on some databases on some tables. Okay, so you can add the privileges as you want, and we learned how to flush the privileges as well. So I'm just going to drop, as a final thing, I'm just going to drop this user. Okay, so that we start from a clean slate again. Okay, so it's good for demonstration. Okay, so that's all I have. Yeah, thanks for watching. This is a user management for MariaDB. Very important if you want to do ASP.NET Core, where especially you're going to use another framework Core. Okay, so I'll see you. Thanks for watching.